I'm attorney Gloria Allred, and with me is my client, Lisa Archibald. I'll be making a statement, and then she'll make a statement, and then we'll both be happy to take some questions. Today I am federal expressing a letter in regards to Lisa's situation with Delta to the president of Delta, Glenn Howenstein. Dear Mr. Howenstein, I'm writing to you concerning the unlawful, discriminatory conduct to which my client, Lisa Archibald, was subjected when she was a passenger on Delta Flight 826 on January 22, 2024. Ms. Archibald was escorted off her plane and told that she was prohibited from flying because her attire, a T-shirt without a bra, was, according to a Delta Gate agent, quote, revealing, end quote, and, quote, offensive, end quote. Ms. Archibald, a Silver Delta member, was scheduled to take a Delta flight departing from Salt Lake City and arriving in San Francisco. On the day of the flight, Ms. Archibald wore a loose white T-shirt, a button-up business shirt, a baggy white jeans, boots, red sunglasses, a multicolored headband, and a cheetah print jacket. Ms. Archibald rarely wears a bra. Though one could fairly and faintly see the shape of her breasts and her nipples through the T-shirt, Ms. Archibald's breasts and/or nipples were covered by the T-shirt. Because the temperature inside the airport was uncomfortably warm that day, Ms. Archibald removed her business shirt, which she had been wearing over her T-shirt, and she also removed her cheetah print jacket at the airport gate, tying the shirt around her waist and placing her cheetah jacket on the top of her suitcase. At the gate, Ms. Archibald approached a Delta Gate agent to discuss the upgrade of her seat from Economy to Economy Plus. Ms. Archibald recalls a female Delta Gate agent treating her with hostility, though she wasn't sure why. Still, Ms. Archibald boarded her flight as normal, sitting in a window seat next to two other passengers. No passenger or flight attendant said anything to her about what she was wearing. Prior to takeoff, the same Delta Gate agent suddenly approached Ms. Archibald. The gate agent announced loudly, quote, "I need to speak with you in private," end quote. Ms. Archibald was shocked, but she obeyed the Delta Gate agent who escorted her off the plane. Then outside of the plane, Ms. Archibald alleges that the gate agent told her that the reason she needed to speak with her in private was that Ms. Archibald's outfit was too, quote, revealing, end quote, and, quote, offensive, end quote. The gate agent told her that when passengers are wearing offensive or revealing clothing, Delta's official policy is to remove them from the flight. The gate agent said, however, that she would not prohibit Lisa from flying on one condition. She told Lisa that she would be allowed to remain on the flight if she put on a jacket over her T-shirt. Embarrassed and upset, Lisa complied and took the business shirt that she had tied around her waist and put it on to cover her T-shirt. That seemed to satisfy the gate agent, and she allowed Lisa to reboard the flight and return to her seat. The interaction was bizarre, harassing, embarrassing, discriminatory, and unnecessary. When she returned to her seat, Ms. Archibald spoke with surrounding passengers about the situation, several of whom stated that they believed the Delta Gate agent was out of line. In fact, the woman seated next to Lisa stated that not only was what the gate agent did out of line, but also was discriminatory. At the end of her flight, Ms. Archibald reported the incident to the head flight attendant. He said that Delta's official policy is that, quote, women must cover up, end quote, and that an official report was made. Ms. Archibald was unclear if the report was concerning the Delta employee's mistreatment of her or if the report was about her outfit. Following the incident, Ms. Archibald submitted a complaint through Delta's website. Delta responded and sent Ms. Archibald an apology for the, quote, frustrating situation, end quote, she experienced, and said they cannot conclude that there was any discriminatory intent, but they will handle it internally with the appropriate action taken. I've attempted to ascertain the policy that permitted Ms. Archibald to be removed from the plane for not wearing a bra. It appears that while there may not be a formal dress code, Delta's contract of carriage reads that Delta may remove a passenger when reasonably necessary, it's a quote, for the, quote, comfort or safety, end quote, of passengers. For example, when, quote, the passenger's conduct, attire, hygiene, or odor creates an unreasonable risk of offense or annoyance to other passengers, end quote. If Delta contends that the treatment of Ms. Archibald is in alignment with this policy, please explain how wearing a t-shirt without a bra causes, quote, an unreasonable risk of offense or annoyance, end quote, to the point that removal is, quote, reasonably necessary, end quote. This same policy also says Delta, quote, may not refuse to provide transportation based upon sex, end quote. By denying Ms. Archibald the right to travel in a t-shirt that would be perfectly appropriate for a man, Delta discriminated on the basis of sex. I am requesting a meeting with you, the president of Delta, to discuss policy changes to ensure that passengers do not face embarrassment, harassment, and discrimination with regard to how they are dressed. A bra, or lack thereof, should not prevent an individual from accessing the services that she has rightfully purchased. My understanding of the United States Department of Transportation rules, the governing commercial airlines, is that passengers may be removed from a flight for safety or security reasons. However, Lisa did not present either a safety or security risk. Neither her breasts or any other woman's breasts have ever tried to take over a plane. Breasts are not weapons of war, and it's not a crime for a woman or girl to have them. The only war in the United States in which women are directly involved is the war against women, which attempts to control women's bodies. That war could immediately end if government, the courts, and large corporations would stop trying to tell women what they can and cannot do with their bodies. Was Delta concerned that another passenger might attack Lisa because the passenger was sexually stimulated by the outline of Lisa's breasts or the sight of her nipple underneath her t-shirt? If that is Delta's concern, it is based on a sex stereotype that men or other women view a woman's breast as a sexual object, and a stereotype that other passengers cannot control themselves. And that is why Delta insists on controlling what female passengers can and must do with their attire. In the alternative, if Delta based Lisa's removal on the assumption that other passengers might view the outline of Lisa's breasts and her nipple under her t-shirt as offensive, how did Delta reach that conclusion? Did Delta take a vote or a poll of other passengers on the flight? We know of no such poll or vote, and to the contrary, the other passengers on the row in which Lisa was seated did not complain to Lisa or the flight attendant and did not request Lisa's removal from the flight. What is next for Delta in their women must cover up policy? Will women who wear low-cut t-shirts or blouses or dresses which reveal the shape of their breasts but not their nipples be asked to leave the plane? What will Delta do about girls under the age of 18? At which age must a girl make sure that her nipples cannot be seen under a t-shirt? Is the age when they may be removed from a flight age 7 or age 13 or age 17? It's bad enough that women and girls have to be subjected to laws in half of the states that control when and if a woman can have an abortion and what women and girls can do with their uteruses. Now Delta appears to take this one step further by seeking to control what women wear and how much of their breasts and body must be covered or can be viewed by others. There does not appear to be any clear legal justification for Delta's oppressive policy. We're looking forward to meeting with Delta so that we may discuss with them how their policy may be changed so that no future passenger is subjected to the kind of discrimination and humiliation that Lisa Archibald was forced to suffer. The fight for gender equity has made significant strides in the last decade. Many jurisdictions have prohibited dress codes and grooming standards that impose restrictions or requirements specific to gender. The United States Court of Appeals for the 10th Circuit found that a law that prohibits women from baring their breasts below the areola is likely unconstitutional, in violation of the Equal Protection Clause, because the law's distinction was not based on any morphological difference between men and women's breasts, but from, quote, stereotypes about women's breasts, but not men's, as sex objects, end quote. Delta's current policy, which is highly subjective, has been applied in a discriminatory manner and resulted in disparate treatment and harassment of passengers like Ms. Archibald. The policy should be revised in a way that considers gender equity and does not result in increased burdens on women. Male passengers are not required to cover up their t-shirts with a shirt or a jacket. They also do not have to wear a bra to board or remain on a plane, and women should not have to wear one either. In a time where women's bodies are so heavily policed, autonomy over the way women present themselves through clothing is very important. Delta's treatment of Ms. Archibald sends the message that it ratifies the sexualization of women and their bodies. Ms. Archibald dressed, as many of us do on travel days, comfortably. She should not have been escorted off the plane because she wore attire that would have been permissible for male passengers. Please contact me or have your attorney contact me on or before April 6, 2024, to schedule a meeting to discuss a constructive policy and practice solution to this important issue. Thank you. Okay. Here,
Yeah, apologize.
Here, you can move a little more.
Ouch, yes. I was targeted and humiliated. The gate agent waited until the entire plane was seated, calm, and approaching departure. She came to my seat and loudly asked to speak to me in private and escorted me off the plane as though I was a criminal. I felt I was being paraded up the aisle and in front of other passengers who might not have seen me previously. It felt like a scarlet letter was being attached to me. I felt it was a spectacle aimed at punishing me for not being a woman in the way she thought I should be a woman. As she scolded me outside of the plane doors, her words felt aimed at embarrassing me. I was hyper-aware that I had no control, and she could do whatever she wanted. The powerlessness was worse than the humiliation. I wore the same clothing any man might wear. I also have a chest smaller than many men on that flight. Where does Delta draw the line? Who is the judge? Has this Delta gate agent who acted as a judge of what I was wearing been held accountable for her decision to parade me as she required me to leave the plane? It appears that she was given free rein to decide what was offensive and revealing. Delta Airlines has a PR line of inclusivity. I would like to see them put their policy where their PR is. This is a fantastic opportunity for Delta to change their policy and practice. Delta, please don't disappoint us.
And we'll be happy to take some questions.
Are you, Emily with KNX, are you going to be filing a claim or lawsuit against Delta?
Well, at this point, what we would
I'm
like...
just speaking like, sorry.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you. Okay. At this point, we're asking for a meeting with the president of Delta and/or his attorney. What we're really interested in is a change of policy or clarification of policy. So it's not so subjective and it's not, and then it doesn't discriminate. And that's what we would like to discuss at a meeting, because our feeling is that Lisa may not have been the only person ever escorted off the airline because someone at Delta thought they weren't dressed in an appropriate way. So that's what we'd like to do first. We have a backup plan if they don't agree to a meeting. I might add that she did file with them to complain so they would know what happened. And the answer that she received, which she has, is completely unsatisfactory. It's kind of a non-apology apology. And in addition, they said they didn't find it discriminates. They never called Lisa, asked her to come in for an interview, in any way, from her point of view, heard what actually happened to Lisa, asked to see what she was wearing, nothing. Just came up with the conclusion that there was no discrimination. So based on what? I'd like to know the answer to that. So that's really, it's a serious issue when women are being judged for what they wear, or someone decides at a major corporation they're not dressed appropriately. I mean, there are a lot of people on an airline that, may wear clothes that someone else may not like or would not have chosen for themselves. But the idea that somebody is going to consider her breasts offensive, I mean, if you look at the Department of Transportation rules, people can be removed if there's a safety or security risk. There's no safety risk. Her breasts are not going to be attacking anyone. There's no security risk. It's really a very negative assumption about men that she would be attacked because they might see her breasts through a t-shirt or the shape of them. It's a negative stereotype, unfair to men. Or that maybe another woman would attack her. So it's something that really has to be discussed. I don't think anybody gets on an airline and expects to be embarrassed and humiliated and asked to get off a plane because of what they're wearing or not wearing.
Lisa, I have a question for you. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to just say, if you could just tell us
Wait,
a little
here,
bit
take some
about
more.
yourself, where you're from, what do you do?
Sorry.
I'm so
Pardon me, I
sorry.
couldn't hear you.
My asthma. Excuse me. I think I'm nervous and having a little asthma attack. Excuse
Okay,
me.
all right.
Oh, just one more time. If you can just tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? What do you do?
So I was born in the States. I was here for about my first 10 years. My next 10 years I was in New Zealand. And since then I've been between Europe, Asia, and New York. So I used to be, I was a professional athlete as a professional judo player. And then I was working in fashion and music in Paris for a long time. I now still do a little bit of music, but I have a branding company, a strategic marketing company called Le Fouille Delicieux.
And just a couple of questions just about your flying experience since then. It seems like you fly a lot.
Yes.
How has this affected how you feel getting on a plane now?
It certainly has made me think twice. I've always flown a lot due to the jobs that I've had. And I've never been approached before regarding something I was wearing. And it's makes me nervous. It certainly does make me think twice, and it makes me wonder if I'm going to be targeted, which is not normal, I think.
Lisa, talk more about when you got back to your seat and you told the passengers what was next to you. Talk about that conversation and tell us what happened.
Actually, they were amazingly supportive. The woman next to me said, she asked me what happened, and they both did. And I said to them, she said, that's discrimination. It was the first thing that she said. She said, that is absolute discrimination. She said, I'm a very conservative woman, but what you are wearing is not offensive at all. And she actually continued speaking to me for the entire flight. Even when I would put my headphones on and take them off, she was seemingly very horrified. I mean, I was horrified. I think everyone was horrified because it's just a baggy white shirt, you know, and it was an hour and a half long flight. It's not like I was going to get up again, you know. I mean, parading me up and down like that sort of, it increased the amount of offense that she had perceived. It was just very strange. So the surrounding people were very supportive and really wonderful.
It sounds like that other female passengers were offended with you.
Yes, absolutely offended with me. Absolutely. So, I mean, thank you for the solidarity for any of those people out there that were sitting next to me, especially that one woman. I really appreciated your support and kindness.
Do you
I
still
mean,
find
how
out
many
that-
people have to be offended before Delta decides somebody needs to change what they're wearing? Is it 1? Is it 10? What do? Have a secret poll they took? I've flown on Delta many times. I've never seen a poll or a vote, or I've never seen anyone come down the aisle and check everybody's clothing. This is unacceptable. I challenge Delta to show me how many men in T-shirts they've escorted off a plane. And I've seen men in T-shirts, you can see under their T-shirts sometimes. And I don't think men's breasts or nipples just present a security risk or a safety risk either. I've never seen a woman attacking a man because she could see through his T-shirt. So this is
Gloria,
ridiculous.
If this is their policy and this falls under the umbrella of what they call offensive, if it is the policy of the airlines, can you legally file, if you need be, a discrimination lawsuit against
Yes,
them if
well,
it's their policy?
we can file a claim of discrimination with another agency. We want to give them an opportunity to change their policy. And so they have this window of opportunity. We've made our case. They've given no basis for saying this is not discriminatory except because they say so, which is not sufficient from the point of view of evidence. I'd like them to discuss this with me. You know, many years ago, I did a press conference here because a woman that I represented was stopped by TSA at the airport, and they wouldn't let her go through because she had piercing in her breasts. And she actually told them, she said, okay, I got through the first screening, I see you're going to wand me. Before you do, I just want you to know, if it goes off, it's because I have piercing in my breasts. And the TSA guy said, well, ma'am, you'll have to take those piercings out of your breasts. And she said, oh, I wouldn't be able to get them out without a pair of pliers. They've been in here 10 years. Scar tissue. And he said, just a minute, please. He came back with a pair of pliers that were rusty. And she had to go in this little room if she wanted to get on and take the piercings out of her breast. It was very painful. Anyway, within 24 hours, the head of the TSA called me when he heard about it and got on the phone and discussed what did I think about what the policy should be for people with piercings. And we discussed it, and I think he had had some hearings. And he changed the policy. Okay. So it can happen, so we'd like to discuss it. Not everything has to be a lawsuit that takes years and an adversarial. If there's a wrong, remedy it, right the wrong. It's as simple as that. Of course, if you don't, then maybe others are going to have to be involved to give the facts of life. But, you know, my guess is if that were his wife or daughter, he wouldn't want her humiliated like that. And I emphasize the safety and security because that's the most important thing on a plane. And there's no evidence that her breasts presented any risk of that, safety or security. So.
If I can ask for some clarification on what specifically do you take issue with? For example, are you saying that based on what you have, that this person was just being a little over the top, that she overreached and what you had objectively, you know, was not offensive, or that the policy should not be any different for men and women? Because I think we can all think in society of situations where a man would be allowed to walk around with no shirt, where it would be considered very different if a woman did the same thing. And whether that's right or wrong, those are some societal norms that we operate within.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, if you go to work and somebody doesn't like the color of your dress and finds it offensive, does that mean you have to change your dress? I mean, what is that? Some people, might see, hair on a woman's legs and find that offensive. Does that mean she can be thrown off the plane and not fly because somebody doesn't like the fact that she may be going against societal norms and have hair on her legs and haven't shaved them? I mean, where does this end? So last I checked, the Taliban are not in charge of Delta. And so that we have to dress like for the approval of a Delta agent. And by the way, we don't know if she checked with her supervisor, the supervisor's supervisor, but I'd like to know what the process is.
Is there any chance this is specific to this airport being in Salt Lake City? Given that
it's Utah?
given that it's Utah, they are more modest, and I'm not condoning.
Yeah, well, the weird
what
thing is that she was on her way to San Francisco. I don't think anybody would be shocked in San Francisco. Or a lot of people on the plane going to San Francisco.
But
That's
the gate
probably
agent-
the least shocking things that they see once they're in San Francisco.
I'm asking if the gate agent may have applied her own.
Salt Lake, I don't know. She was coming from the Sundance Film Festival because she's an artist in a lot of ways in her business. She deals with creative people. So not all of Utah is,
Well,
has the same set of values, beliefs, perceptions. But again, is it going to be state by state like it is now with abortion, where whatever state you fly out of, you have to meet those societal norms? Or what if you're wrong about what the societal norms are? Somebody can't get on a flight? This is making no sense. And again, as I say, what about children? Okay, they have to be like, if they're in puberty, can somebody just go up to them and embarrass them? That could be really damaging to a young child who is children are very self-conscious, as we know, about their bodies. Especially girls, they think they're too big or too small, or too round or not roundy enough, or not developed well, or too developed. And so, no. I would like to know how often this happens, because I can't believe it's just Lisa, that this is a once-in-a-lifetime type of situation.
So Gloria, aside from this meeting with Delta and potential policy change, is there anything else that you or your client are seeking from Delta at this
No.
time?
If they will meet and have a policy change, that's what she wants, because she doesn't want this to happen to anybody else. So I want to get up and let's go to the bras.
Okay.
And there's a reason why I have the brassieres here, or bras. Okay. Okay. All right. So let's move them up a little. Okay. So we have these because Lisa generally does not wear a bra. If she wears anything, it's going to be an undershirt like she was wearing, a t-shirt. But that's as an undershirt, and then she wears a shirt, business shirt over it. And she feels like it's being, even though it wasn't said, she feels it's being suggested that somehow it'd be more appropriate if she wore a bra. Women shouldn't have to feel that they have to wear a bra to cover up their breasts. She had a t-shirt over them. I mean, I don't know what Delta is saying. But first of all, women didn't even wear bras generally until World War II. And that's when they were working, because the men were going to war. And it was felt that somehow they wouldn't be as tired, or their bodies wouldn't be as tired if they were wearing bras. Now a lot of women don't even know how not to wear a bra. They're so used to it. And even though it really doesn't have that same function anymore. And there's some women, particularly celebrities, that don't wear bras and are very proud that they don't wear bras. So it shouldn't be a condition of flight or transportation or any access to a public accommodation to have to wear a bra. It's ridiculous.
I have a question. This just reminds me of the 70s with the women's, lib movement, the bra burning. Wouldn't have this policy been discussed decades ago during that?
Would this policy what?
Been discussed decades ago during the women's
Oh, the bras.
lib movement
Yeah.
when women were burning their bras and not wearing bras?
Yeah, well, yeah, and it is an interesting issue. You're correct. That has been addressed over the decades. I've never been able to pin down to a certainty that anyone really did burn a bra. That whether that's a myth or it actually happened. But I'm sure that a lot of them wanted to, because it's like, why do we have to do this? We question it. I mean, women used to have to wear, like in the 1800s, big skirts. And I looked into why did so many women wear big, long skirts, like with a hoop under it? And it turns out it was because they were afraid that they would smell from menstruation. And so that kind of padding stopped the odor from being noticed. Now, who told them that? Why they believe that? Was it effective? I don't know. And then there were women who were radical and they wore like long pants when they were riding bicycles, and that was thought to be extremely inappropriate for a woman to wear pants rather than a skirt. So it's evolving. And yeah, for a lot of people it's radical, the thought of not wearing a bra. But of course the bra industry is a multi-zillion-dollar industry in the United States. And so they encourage wearing bras. But that's a whole other issue. I don't think Delta has any business talking about what a woman has to wear over her breasts. That's it. And she didn't do this to make a point. It was hot in the airport, so she's taking off her jacket. She took off her business shirt. And then she got on the plane. She would have put everything back on if it was cooler in the plane. But she didn't have that chance.
And can you clarify just one more time? I think you said that Delta, when you followed up, never even said, hey, send us a picture of your outfit or anything like that.
That's right.
Just to try to
Right.
understand. And did, at the airport, they ever specifically say, this exactly is what's wrong with, what we think is wrong?
It was interesting because the woman was quite, she took care not to specifically say to me, you are offensive, you are this. She said our official policy is to remove passengers who are offensive and wearing revealing clothing. I mean, I never would imagine that a baggy t-shirt with, baggy pants is offensive clothing. So it was extremely vague, and as Gloria said, I had no intention of causing a point. It was the hottest day in history or something like that in Salt Lake City that day, and they hadn't adjusted the thermostat. I just took off my business shirt because it was hot. This wasn't a movement, but maybe now it is.
Yeah. Well, what about women who've had mastectomies and are wearing a shirt over that? Are they going to consider that offensive because she doesn't have breasts or only has one, or whatever the situation is? What if somebody has scars from surgery? Are they going to consider that offensive? Where does this end is what I would like to know. We know where it's starting, we don't know where it's ending.
Did they offer anything? Like, here's 5,000 miles or?
Nothing, and also I'm not asking for that. Overwhelmingly, I have 2 nieces, and I want them never ever to have to deal with this. I never want them to be humiliated the way that I was, or any woman to be humiliated. And with small steps, hopefully we can make some big ones.
The idea that they say, we're sorry that you were frustrated, that's not the issue. They obviously do not want to deal with the issue. That's a diversion, and we get it. They don't want to deal with that issue. If they took discrimination seriously, they would have called her, asked her to come in for a meeting, asked her for the evidence, had a real investigation. But they just blew her off, but she knew she was being blown off, and she's not accepting that. So.
Are you still flying Delta, or are you picking different airlines?
I'm picking different airlines. I mean, I think that from the research I've done, most of the airline policies are not great, which is really a shame, and hopefully this will highlight that and encourage everyone to get a a lot more egalitarian and a lot less discriminatory. But for now, no, I'm not flying Delta, although that used to be my airline of choice. So, but yes.
Right. You don't want to have to go through inspection.
Yeah, I don't want to have to go through inspection.
You went through the TSA, right? That should be enough.
Yeah, and you know, when I think he was a head flight attendant, said to me, "Oh, our official policy is that women must cover up."
That's what the
That's
head
what-
flight attendant said to you as you were getting off the airline.
I mean, when I travel to the Middle East, I hear that and I expect it. On a Delta flight, I do not expect to hear that. And the way he said it to me, just nonchalant, almost like I was the problem here. That's not okay.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you.